Hey, this is Dominic, and this is a brief lesson on teaching English to young learners. In this video, we will briefly talk about the things to consider when teaching children, teaching phonics to young learners, teaching language units to young learners, discipline in the classroom, and teaching mantra for young learners. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Some things to consider when teaching children. Teaching children can be one of the most rewarding things you can do as an EFL teacher. But it is not enough to simply play games and have fun. If you want to teach children effectively, there are many things to consider. It is important to consider how children learn. Teaching children should be child initiated, so you need to create a need in the child to learn and then fill that need. Unlike adults, children often come to English classes because they have to. So, one of your tasks is to create an environment that makes them want to learn and participate. Once they have that desire, teaching them becomes a much better experience. This is why games and activities are so effective for young children. Getting a child involved emotionally and psychologically will greatly enhance their progress. There are tons of activities for you to try on your classes available online, but ultimately, for best results, you use your own judgment and imagination. You will need to decide how to teach your young class to understand spoken English, to speak, to read, and write. If you are teaching children who are not familiar with the English alphabet, you will need to show and explain how English works, using patterns and styles of writing that may not exist in their own language. You will also need to help your young learners to create and pronounce different and unfamiliar sounds. Preparing well for your young learners is a key. Here are some of the reasons. You can ensure your class stay focused. You can ensure they stay motivated. You can arrange a variety of activities in one lesson. You can keep interest up, it helps define the student's progress, and you will have a greater sense of accomplishment and pride. Number 2. Teaching phonics to young learners. Let's talk about the single letter sounds. Phonics are the sounds of the letters. For W, we would teach the sound W as in wood. Phonics are not the names of the letters. For W, we would not teach W. Imagine it's your first class with children aged 5 years old. You're planning on teaching the alphabet. In that case, the best idea is to start with the vowels A, E, I, O, and U. They are the most common sounds in the language, and they can be tricky with the different possible pronunciations. When teaching phonics, it's a good idea to do it by associating each one with a word. For example, A for apple. When you say A, hold up a flashcard with a picture of an apple. Get your children to repeat what you say. A, apple. Phonics are not straightforward because sometimes letters change their sound. Look at the following words and say them aloud to yourself. 8, car, eat, ant, air. In each case, the letter A has a different sound. Sometimes, when two letters are put together, they create a different sound. It is also important to begin by teaching one pronunciation of a letter rather than try to teach all the different pronunciations in one go. Drilling plays a very important part. Remember to drill thoroughly and make sure you drill individually as well as chorally. Make sure you model each letter clearly when you drill. Repetition is a key factor in helping children to learn English. Before moving to the consonants, spend at least 3 lessons concentrating on the 5 vowels. Use games and activities with your class to help your students familiarize themselves with these letters and the related vocabulary. Use a phonic as a springboard to teach other vocabularies, for example, aunt, and album. Use flashcards showing other nouns. Be very careful with the words you choose as the pronunciation can be different to the phonic you are teaching. For example, the A sound in ace, is quite different to the in aunt. Remember to teach the words first and then show its association to each phonic. After around 3 lessons, teach your students another 5 letters. The most commonly used consonants in the alphabet are T and R S H. Tiger, nut, ring, suck, hat. At this point, it's a good idea to avoid words beginning with the SH, CH, or TH. You can teach these double letter sounds once your young students have mastered the complete alphabet. Spend a further 3 lessons on these letters, but do not forget the ones you've already taught. Keep going back to them at regular intervals. Think about what games and activities you could incorporate phonic into on a regular basis. Here are some useful sequences for teaching the remaining letters of the alphabet. Sequence 1: B, book; K, cat; D, dog; G, gorilla; P, panda. Sequence number 2: M, mouse; J, jacket; K, kangaroo; F, fish; L, lion. Sequence number 3: Q, queen; W, watch; V, violin; X, X-ray; Y, yacht; Z, zebra. Notice how the words chosen are immediately accessible to children. Make sure you make your lessons memorable using fun and relevant activities. Animal names often appeal to young learners. Why not imitate some animal sounds? Your students will have a great fun listening to and imitating you. Every country has different animal sounds, and you are likely to find them amusing. Incorporate this new phonics with the others in all the games and activities you play during the course of your lesson. At the end of each lesson, you will need to make sure that your children are able to practice writing this down in their notebooks. After you have taught your young learners all the letters of the alphabet and they are familiar with their sounds and can identify them as written symbols, it will be time to introduce double letter sounds. There are a variety of these in the alphabet, which produce a different sound when placed together. For example, when the letters P and H are put together, they create the sound F. Sometimes the same double letters can produce a variety of different sounds. Say the following words to yourself and notice the difference in pronunciation of the double letter: foot, spoon; cow, bowl. There are many potentially confusing double letter sounds in the English language. For example, GH. We can pronounce this F as in cuff, G as in ghost, or even silent as in bow. You can easily understand how confusing this could be to young learners of English. Here are some examples of double letter sounds. Take a couple of minutes to think of words that contain the following combinations. Like with single letter sounds, when teaching these double letter sounds, it's helpful to associate the sound with a noun. For example, A, sail; tail, train; or R, car, carpet, card, shark. Keep the nouns at the beginning and then you can gradually introduce verbs later on. After the children have made considerable progress, they will be able to use these double letter sounds to help them pronounce new vocabulary easily. You are laying the foundations of a new language in your learners. Teaching the basics will help them in their future learning. Let's now proceed to number 3, teaching language units to young learners. Number 1, how to teach vocabulary. There are thousands of new words to learn when learning a new language. When teaching children, we should aim to teach simple nouns that we can easily show the meaning of. Flashcards are very easy to use because all you have to do is show your students a flashcard and ask, "What is it?" The children will be inquisitive at first, especially if you were asking the question first without showing them the picture. Another idea is to gradually reveal the picture to build anticipation. Make sure that your voice expresses curiosity and foster a spirit of inquiry. Although flashcards are an excellent way of teaching nouns, it is always good to bring variety of lesson by using realia. What objects are in your school that you could take into a class to teach new vocabulary? Are there things in your house you could show your students? Your students are interested in you and will warm to you if they think they are learning something about their teacher. Don't teach too much vocabulary in one lesson. If you are teaching a phonic, perhaps you may want to teach a word that is associated with it. For example, E, elephant, and E, egg. Don't teach the word zebra until you have taught the phonic Z. Once the students are familiar with the vocabulary, you can teach them plurals. You usually do this when introducing them to numbers. One car becomes two cars. One apple becomes two apples. Then three apples. This can be done again by using pictures, flashcards, and realia. Think carefully about the question forms you want to use with the children. What is it? Becomes what are they? Again, you show by example, and through use and practice, the children will learn the structure, the pattern, and the form. You start off with a simple question form. How many apples are there? There are four apples. Be very careful about the difference between uncountable and countable nouns. For example, look at how the following dialogue goes wrong. How many cars are there? There are four cars. How many apples are there? There are eight apples. How much milk is there? There are many milk. You can teach your students the difference between much and many when you feel they are ready. In the meantime, focus on simple vocabulary and countable nouns that your students will be able to use. If you use uncountable nouns, it may be an idea to introduce container first. For example, a bottle of milk, a bag of rice, a glass of water, a box of chocolates, a loaf of bread, or a can of cola. Using these points with what you've learned about phonic and double letter sounds will help you decide how and when to introduce vocabulary. You start teaching your students how to read from the very first lesson. Make sure that they can see the letters and identify them with each phonic sound. After around 10 to 15 lessons, you will have taught your young learners enough letters for them to start putting them together into words. If you spend 3 lessons on 5 vowels as suggested, then spend another 6 lessons on T, N, R, S, H, B, C, D, G, and P. You can start saying words that they have already learned. Look at the following 3-letter words: dog, cat, bat, hat, tin. Imagine you are going to teach the word dog. Look at how it is broken into stages using phonics. The teacher gets the students to say each phonic separately without the noun association. D-O-G. The teacher then encourages them to say it faster and faster. D-O-G, D-O-G, D-O-G. Suddenly, they realize that they have read the complete word dog using the English alphabet. And when your children have more confidence, introduce 4-letter words, then 5, and then more. How about teaching numbers? Well, teaching numbers can be fun for children, especially when done as a game. It can appeal to children's competitive nature when they want to be the person who knows the highest number. A good game to play that encourages children to learn counting is to start at 1 and go round in a circle with 2, followed by 3, and so on. If a student doesn't know the number, they are out. In the end, two students will be left battling it out. See how far they can go. From teaching vocabularies, let's move to teaching structures. It's important to teach basic structures to build up the children's confidence and competence in communicating. Here are some examples. Hello, wave and smile. Say the word with warmth and vigor. The children will easily understand and respond. What is it? This is useful for eliciting vocabulary, and when combined with gestures, students will easily understand it. You can use pictures, flashcards, or realia to elicit vocabulary. Encourage the children to ask you and to ask each other. Soon they will be asking you, what is it? For all manner of things. Another example, who is it? One of the mistakes children will make is applying the question form, what is it, to people. This creates the need to teach who is it, which can be practiced during the pictures or by using pictures of famous people or TV characters that they will know. Here are some other examples of structures. What's your name? What color is it? Where do you live? How old are you? What does he do? What does she do? The present continuous, I am playing, studying, and so on. Let's move to number 4, teaching the skills to young learners. First of all, how do we teach writing? In each lesson, you need to encourage your young learners to do some writing. This is a good thing to do at the end of the class when you need to settle the children down after games and activities that may have included lots of running around. Start doing this from your very first class. After introducing the 5 vowel phonics and showing the children the letters A, E, O, U, get the children to practice writing them. Encourage the students to buy exercise books that have special lines in them for writing. These look a little like 4-line musical staves. The letters C, M, N, R, S, V, W, X, and Z, and the vowels will fit between the 2 middle lines. The letters B, D, F, H, K, L, and T will touch the top line. The letters G, J, P, and Y will touch the bottom line. Have an alphabet freeze in the classroom with both upper and lower cases so that the children see the letters regularly. From the very first class, show that there are 2 ways of writing each letter: uppercase letters, the capitals, and the lowercase or small letters. Encourage the children to write neatly. Use the board to show them where on the page to start writing the letters and where to finish. Practice will give your young learners confidence. Give them plenty of praise for their achievements. Next is how to teach speaking. Almost every activity that you do in the classroom should involve children speaking English. When you teach a structure, give every child an opportunity to say it individually and chorally. Give them an opportunity to use it in pair work. Get some pairs to come to the front of the class to demonstrate. Make use of games and activities to make the class exciting and to keep the students engaged. Let's have sample games. A good example of a game is where children sit in a circle and throw a ball to each other. As someone catches the ball, they need to say a target word or structure and then toss it to someone else. This can be done with individual words or with short conversations. As the teacher, you can make encouraging sounds and give them plenty of praise. Another one is filling the gaps. Use running commentaries and get the students to complete the gaps. You can use exaggerated pauses for fun and effects. For example, as you pick up a red and blue pen, you can say, "I need a red blank and a blank blank." Get the children to fill the gaps and show your pleasure when they get it right. When you give a pen to students, ask them what they need. Wait for a complete sentence. "I need a green pen." If they can't do it, help them. "I need a blank blank." Once children have some basic vocabulary, you can teach a variety of sentence beginnings that children can easily finish. "I like blank, I want blank, I saw blank, I ate blank, I went to blank." Another example I usually use for my Japanese students is the word chain. Use these simple sentence structures in spoken games. For example, use cards with pictures of animals. The first child turns over a card and makes a sentence. "I saw a dog." The next child turns over a card and adds the information. "I saw a dog and a cat." The next child continues. "I saw a dog, a cat, and a rabbit." See how long they can sustain it. Make sure they have fun with it. Those are just few examples of games or activities for your ESL or EFL classes for kids. You can always find tons of games online. We now move to number 5, discipline in the classroom. It can be a joy to teach young learners who behave well and make an effort to learn what you teach. It can be frustrating, on the other hand, when you are faced with a rowdy crowd of misbehaving children. Some children can be naturally boisterous and noisy, others can be quiet as mice, and they can have difficulty in expressing themselves in a class using their own native language, let alone a strange and foreign language. You need to have a relaxed and fun atmosphere in your class without it descending into confusion and chaos. This is something that will only come from your own experience as a teacher. It all depends on the class you are teaching. From the outset of your class, you need to have set rules, things students can and can't do. You need to be firm about this from when you begin teaching them. The school where you work will have its own guidelines on what is and what is not permissible in your classes. If things get really serious and the child continues to disrupt your class, you will need to talk to the principal or the director of the school. Perhaps one of the parents will be invited to observe your class to see the situation for themselves. Perhaps the child will be removed from the class or even if necessary, removed from the school. Here are some of the best ESL or EFL classroom strategies based on the recent studies. Building students' self-esteem and maintaining the teacher's fairness. Building rapport. Talking with the involved students in case of disruptive or problematic students, providing a variety of activities in lesson, maintaining students' attention, giving clear explanations and instructions, keeping learners busy and managing time wisely. Recognition and reward system. Use of classroom rules, no punishment, body language, increasing voice volume, being positive, seating arrangements, engagement, and participation, using songs, and planning the activities well. These strategies are not exhaustive. You can check the details of each strategy. Kindly check the reference section. We now come to the last part, the teaching mantra for young learners. No learning without fun, no fun without learning. The majority of your classes with young learners should be spent playing games and doing fun activities. However, you must have a reason for the game or activity. There has got to be a purpose behind the activity. A good motto to remember when teaching children is this: there should be no learning without fun. There should be no fun without learning. When planning games and activities, take the following tips into consideration. Always explain an activity using an example rather than words. Demonstrate how to do it. Number 2, vary the number of activities in a lesson. You could be looking at 10 to 12 activities in a 1-hour lesson. Be flexible. You may prepare 12 activities but only use 6. It will depend on the students that day. Do not assume what you like is what the students will like. Be sensitive to their likes and keep a close eye on how the activity is running. Just because an activity is fun doesn't mean that it is useful. In your preparation, think how much the activity gets the students to practice their newly acquired English sounds, words or phrases by listening, reading, writing, or speaking. Finally, how much teacher talking time is there and how much student talking time is there? When it comes to planning an interesting lesson, usually you will want to have between 10 to 12 activities for a 1-hour class with your kids. Remember, each activity should last about 5 minutes. Try not to do an extended activity with children as they get bored very easily. Occasionally, you will find a class that is very mature and has a good attention span. If your young learner want to continue doing an activity for longer than 5 minutes, adjust your lesson plan accordingly. Here are some useful points to take into account when structuring your lessons. First, a lesson should start with a revision of the previous lesson. After introducing the new language to the students, make sure all the students have understood correctly before getting them to do practice activities. A practice activity can be a game. Make the activities simple, no complicated instructions needed. Activities should be achievable and provide the chance for the students to build confidence in new language. Always prepare to be flexible in your plans and have if time activities planned in case you get to the end of your lesson with 10 minutes to spare. Here are some online resources you can use for your EFL or ESL career. Let's have a quick recap. In this video, we talk about some things to consider when teaching children, teaching phonics to young learners, teaching language units to young learners, teaching the skills to young learners, discipline in the classroom, the mantra for teaching English to young learners, and some online resources for EFL or ESL teachers. So this is Dominic, and thank you for watching.